Uhuru. I said, Uhuru, comrade. That goes to you out there watching and listening to us. We want to say Uhuru, which means freedom. My name is Fofi Al-Kibalon, and I am a proud member, a lifetime member of the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement. Welcome to Aquaba Hall, which means welcome. We are here in the beautiful Aquaba Hall with this Sunday rally that is presented by the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement. That is the mass organization right here of the Uhuru Movement, where we meet our members where they are. Either you be a CEO or you be outside panhandling trying to make money for your dinner. We want to bring you into the organization so you can get education on political life. When we get ready to start this, I want everyone to please stand and join us as we sing the African Nations Fight Song written by Elikia Igoma. The words will be right here on the stage in front of you. I said welcome to everyone, but I especially want to thank our heavy hitter, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Stand and sing our song.
Africa, we are winning. Shout Uhuru for our freedom. We are winning. We'll dance and sing songs when revolution's won. We are winning. Africa's best. Workers, we must unite. We are winning against white power, the parasite. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom. fight and live for free Africa. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom organization, socialist world, our creation. 1 billion strong, yes, we are one. We are winning. Patrice Lumumba's life won't be in vain. We are winning. Keep up the work in Marcus Garvey's name. We are winning. Independent and free is what we will be. We are winning. Africa will bask in our victory. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom organization, socialist world, our creation. 1 billion strong, yes, we are one. We are winning.
Uhuru! I want to welcome each and one of you to the celebration of Uhuru 3 event. We are winning. Actually, we do have. Now, we will present how this stuff started. Yes, sir, you sure can.
Thank you. I wanted to comment on the African Nation Fight song. Every meeting, we sing that song. And not just here, but in other venues and events that we participate in. And some people have actually begun to learn the words of the song. But I would like to just say something about what it means, what the song means. For one thing, what the song does in a very brief period of time, though there are 5 verses, I guess that's what you call them. But what it does is it connects the struggle of African people from all around the world. That we've been on this struggle for freedom for a long period of time. We've been convinced in different places around the world that we're some kind of minority. That it doesn't make any sense to try to fight because you can't win, you're just a minority. And of course, if we accept the definition of who we are as true, there are only X numbers of African people inside the United States, they say you're a minority. When they colonized us, when white people took our mother country from us, they carved it up in a way so that the different colonial powers, white powers, took parts of our Africa. And they created what they call countries. And they took them and carved them up in tiny spaces, tiny places, or even if there's a large territory, they carved it up in a way where there's just a few people living in that territory. So people never had a sense of our own strength, our own power. For example, in Equatorial Guinea, which is in West Africa, they call it Equatorial Guinea. It's dominated by the French. And there are only maybe 1 million people there. The same thing is true of a place called Djibouti in East Africa. They call it Djibouti, it's only 1 million people there. You go to other African so-called countries and you'll see that they carved it up so that there are 10,000 people here, 9,000 people there. But the fact of the matter is that globally and on the continent of Africa too, if you remove these artificial waters, there are almost 2 billion African people in the world. And that's what has happened is that taken away from us our identity and imposing a foreign and alien identity on us, and they created us, made minorities of us. Even in Africa itself, we function and exist as minority populations. And this affects the consciousness and confidence of a people too. If you always think you're a minority, it's hard to win people to fight for your liberation. So this song takes us all around the African world. It takes us to Haiti, where African people have been moved to. And France was a colonial power there, but so was Spain, and so was, there were other colonial powers there as well. And so the song takes us there. It talks about people like Jean-Jacques Dessalines, who was an extraordinary leader of the revolution of Black people in Haiti, who organized the first republic, where one of the first republics in this area was created through a rebellion by African people fighting for our liberation. And there's a term in there in Creole. It says "Kupete Buleka." And this was from the slogan that was put forth by Jean-Jacques Dessalines when he took over that revolutionary struggle in Haiti. And it means cut heads and burn houses. And this was a response, among other things, to the fact that we had been captured and enslaved by hostile foreign people, and that the brutality that was imposed on African people there was just extraordinary. And so we mentioned that in the song. In the song, it talks about how we are talking about fighting a socialist world. And many people, you may hear that and don't know what it means. And one reason you don't know what a socialist world is, or socialism is because our oppressors created a system over our oppression that's now often referred to as capitalism. And capitalism is a system where everything is done for profit. It's done for profit. There's nothing that's produced except for profit, for how to get something out of it, how to make money from it, how to make other resources from it. It's a social system that's based on greed, etc. And it's a social system where minority of people who don't do any work, who do no work at all, privately own and control that which is developed by collective people socially engaged in working and creating value, and then it's appropriated, it's taken from them by this class of people who come to power. And the reason they have power is they created this instrument that's called a state. And I'm not talking like the state of Missouri. I'm talking about the state, which is a bureaucracy. It's an organization that controls things like the police department, the prison system, the military force, the CIA, the FBI, the police in your community. The state is this institution that protects the system of oppression and exploitation. I mean, so you live in a capitalist society where food is not created to feed hungry people. Food is created for profit. And the only reason that sometimes it's not as obvious as it should be in a place like St. Louis is because I've never seen such a display of all kinds of structural work that happens to keep African people dependent, so that they will keep you near starving, and then they'll put a food thing out for you to come in, and they'll give you some food, and you see lines of people who have been pushed out of production. We can't produce for ourselves independently. So the slave master gives us enough to keep us alive and to keep us from rebellion, and to destroy our incentive and our capacity and even our memory of creating for ourselves. And the thing that keeps the people, you see supermarkets with food overflowing from the shelves and what have you, on the one hand, and then you see poor people got nothing to eat. And the thing that separates the poor people with nothing to eat from the food in those supermarkets, why don't you just walk in there and get it? Because people are hungry, why not get it? But you can't get it because of the state. The state is this organization to protect the status quo. The stuff that the system has stolen from the people, robbed from us, they are able to keep it because they have this entity called a state. That's the police department. That's the military if it's necessary. That's the CIA. That's the FBI that will come to your house at 5 o'clock in the morning using flashbang grenades and tanks and things like that to make sure that you don't engage in stuff that will make you independent of their system. So this song is about all of that. It's about Fannie Lou Hamer, who was a remarkable African woman out of Mississippi who led struggles for democracy of Black people there, who have been beaten so badly just for trying to vote that she says her body was as hard as a rock after they finished beating her. It mentions Malcolm X, who many people who would be familiar with, the song does. And it mentions the Honorable Marcus Garvey, who led the largest, people like to say is the largest African liberation or Black liberation movement in history, but it was the largest anti-imperialist movement that ever existed on the planet. It was bigger than anything that anybody else had created. Garvey did that. And they hated Garvey because Garvey was fighting against the same colonialism that we are fighting against. And they did the same thing to Garvey in terms of attacking him that they've done to us. And they accused Garvey of using the mail to defraud. And what was he doing using the mail for? Garvey had created a situation where the Black Star shipping line, they had, for the only time in the history of African people, we had our own shipping line. This is in 1920. And that would allow for trade between Black people here and other places around the world. And so Garvey was negating colonialism just as we've been doing here. And so he was selling stock for that. And they said something like a $9 stock, something to that effect, that he defrauded the people. And just as they come with this concocted story about us, the thing is to stop us from being independent. Stop us from being able to feed, clothe, and house ourselves, because you can't have no dignity if you can't feed, clothe, and house yourself. Even if the memory of dignity is far back in the recesses of your brain, there can be no dignity if a slave master, just like a slave master runs a zoo and feeds the wild animals every now and then to keep them passive, etc. That's the kind of thing that happens with us if we are not in control of our own lives. So I just want to say those things. You should know about that song. That's an incredible song, the African Nation Fight song. So thank you, brothers and sisters. Uhuru. I want to apologize beforehand because this meeting is going to go longer, and I'm self-critical, and I will understand if some of you have to leave. I don't want you to leave. I hate for meetings to go long because when meetings go long, people are reluctant to come back to meetings. I don't want that to happen, but there's so much that's transpired over the last period. This government lost up to now a profound attack that they made on the Black liberation movement. Their objective was to crush it so that it never rears its head again. So the ability to feed, clothe, and house ourselves will be wiped from our memory, and they were able to criminalize it. So Black resistance, so Black complaints about our conditions, they have made a crime. And that's the thing that we have to understand. And this meeting, we need to talk some about that. And I want to talk about, I want Trinity Hess, will you stand up, please? Trinity Hess has been in this movement for 40 some odd years. Justin Neville, can you stand up, please? How many years? 10, 15 years, how long? Justin Neville has been in this movement for 15 years. And I want to say that because there's some people in this room right now we'll never see again. And people call themselves heroic, etc., and part of the movement because they spent 2 weeks, a day, 3 days, 4 days, got tired, got bored, got scared, and left. But these comrades have been here for a very long time on the front lines. And the objective of the attack on Penny Hess and Justin Neville, among other things, was to tell other white people you can't do that. They want to keep us isolated. That's why they would say we had a relationship with Russia. They want us to keep us Black people in this country isolated so that we have no friends, no allies, no place in the world, and nobody knows what the hell is happening to us because Zuckerberg won't even let you out of Facebook jail. And the St. Louis Post-Dispatch will only write about us when we're playing football or doing something else, or when we kill each other, or some other, or when we have the best tap dancing and best begging, process going on. So this is a different now. There's a whole movement that's been given life. by this moment in history, I want you to be able to embrace it. I want you to be able to want to be a part of it. I want you to be able to say that I'm playing a role in taking back the history of African people and the history and responsibility of Africans and other people to move out of the social system based on slavery and genocide. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, Chairman. Okay, comrade. We're gonna show you how we got to where we are to this victory. Every victory is a journey. So we're gonna start with this 3-minute video that you're about to see. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
This is the FBI. You have a federal warrant for this address. Keep your hands up and follow orders. This is the FBI. We have a warrant for...
They handcuffed me and my wife out here. They wanted me to sit on the curb while they were carrying this out, something that I refused to do. They wanted my wife to sit on the curb out here, that she refused to do.
As I was coming out, this big old drone met me.
The only revolutionary organization that's done something here on the ground practically for African people is the one that's come under attack. Institution that offers a community radio station, a newspaper, a commercial kitchen, an Aquaba Hall rental space, and community office for our organizers. That was the building that has come under attack.
You need a breach? What do you need? They want. I don't know. I'll tell Ben the money. Don't take it.
We will build a movement of white people that says hands off the Uhuru movement.
They see in the African People's Socialist Party a vanguard for the struggle for the liberation of our people. They see that because not just what we do here in the United States, but because we had the temerity to do like Garvey, to do like Malcolm X, and take the struggle of black people around the world.
Uhuru.
As you can see, the federal government treated us like refugees and enemies. But when they started the fight, we won. Next. The Uhuru three were sentenced on December 16, 2024, in a federal court in Tampa, Florida. Uhuru, the movement kicked the ass of the ruling class. And we, and we salute the Uhuru Three.
Uhuru. Uhuru.
And not one dime of restitution was paid.
Uhuru. Not one day.
The FBI had a record of saying that they won 95% of their cases. That's because the people did not fight back. But you know what? We told them they lied and they lost. We told the truth and we won.
Uhuru.
Now we have a clip that's coming up to take you the rest of the way to how we got here. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru, everyone. My name is Jana Lumumba. I'm the Southern Regional Representative for the African People's Socialist Party, as well as the granddaughter of Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And I'm happy to report that in the case of the Uhuru Three, that Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Chair Jesse Neville, and Chairwoman Penny Hess have not been sentenced to 1 day in prison. In addition, they will not pay a single dollar for a fine. They have also been granted the ability to travel freely. And they have been issued 300 hours of community service, which we already do, as well as 36 months of probation. So we are, as we wait for them to be released from the probation office, we are happy to say that from day one, the FBI conducted violent multi-city military raids on 7 Uhuru Movement homes and offices. We've waged a campaign that put the state on trial and united forces across the political spectrum in defense of free speech and the rights of the African community to self-determination. When they indicted us, they expected us to fold. They expected us to run or to take a plea, which is mainly how they achieved their 99% conviction rate in federal criminal cases. We didn't fold. We didn't run. We didn't hide. We didn't take a plea to confess to something that we didn't do. We are fighting and we are winning. We have built an international, non-sectarian, broad-based, anti-colonial free speech movement. The state's objective was not only to imprison 83-year-old Chairman Omali Yeshitela, they wanted to silence us, to criminalize dissent, to force us underground, and to crush the African liberation movement. As Chairman Omali wrote in response to the September 12th verdict, the jury rejected the bogus charge that African people require leadership from Russians or groups characterized as white to define and lead our struggle to end domestic colonialism. We salute the people's multifaceted and ubiquitous movement for anti-colonial free speech and democratic rights whose tireless and heroic organizing contributed profoundly towards this massive victory. The U.S. government did not intend to lose their case on the charge that the Uhuru movement was working for the Russians. Their political goal was to use the foreign agent charge to deny the legitimacy of the Black liberation movement when we criticized the U.S. government for its treatment of African people. Their charge that we are foreign agents was meant to mute the significance of our criticisms of the killings of Black men and women by the police, the mass incarcerations of our people, the gentrification and other forms of colonial terror on our communities by saying that it was actually the Russians who told us to say it. The US government expended a tremendous amount of resources, at least tens of millions of dollars, and hundreds of FBI agents and other government personnel to carry out this sham trial. They stole from our properties at least 13 terabytes of data, the equivalent of 2.5 million books worth of information. They put 14 witnesses on the stand to present their so-called evidence, all of them FBI agents, except for 2 academic hacks who admitted they knew nothing about our case. Under cross-examination, one FBI agent after another was forced to admit that there was no evidence that we ever agreed to work under the direction or control of Russia. The lead investigator from the FBI even had to admit under oath that the FBI and the DOJ knowingly lied to the people when they indicted us for, quote, election interference, unquote, despite the fact that not a shred of evidence of anything was of the sort was ever identified. The jury saw right through it and was able to declare that the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela have never worked for the Russians. We have always worked for Black people. This was a political trial. The colonial states' failed efforts to convince a jury that we are foreign agents was part of a larger political goal to forever discredit speech by Black people and other colonized people against our oppression at the hands of the US government. The US government told the jury that when we demanded reparations to our people, it was the Russians who told us to do that. The jury said no. They told the jury, Uhuru, here's the chairman.
Here we go. Here we go.
Here he is right here. Chairman Omali Yeshitela of the federal courthouse in Florida.
How's that? Yeah, we're gonna talk about these incredible lawyers. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, one of them said, not one day, not one dime. Not one day, not one dime. So, not yet Uhuru. Not yet Uhuru. Not yet Uhuru. I just would like to express our appreciation to all of you for being here all along with us and giving these incredible lawyers this foundation to stand on, right? And able to walk into the lion's den with great confidence and just did a splendid job. And if you listen to what the judge had to say, he said what our lawyers have been saying all along. That was the thing that I was so impressed by. Our lawyers, the lawyers have been saying this all along. And our lawyers have said that we shouldn't be here. We had a lawyer who said that if this thing even goes to trial, that it's an assault, a major assault on the First Amendment. And so I just wanted to acknowledge everybody here and the power of the people. The power of the people. I want to say that the only reason this discussion is happening right now about free speech, and the judge was given an opportunity to make the rulings and make the statements that he made, the only reason he was given this opportunity is because we fought. If we had laid down, we wouldn't have had this discussion. And the discussion we've had up to now, I'm sure, is going to play a role in our appeal. And this has just been a splendid journey that we've been on just in terms of the time here. These are incredible lawyers. And I think we've opened up an entirely new era in terms of political lawyers. I haven't seen anything like this since the 1960s. Yeah. And How's that? Abby. Abby. Abby, yes. Addison. Addison, object. Object.
Keep pausing there for a moment. I would like to bring our guest, Mr. Ronnie Amin, to the mic.
I apologize that I can't stay on, but I have it. But it was necessary. It was necessary for me to be here amongst the people. Sampling a bit. But we know that this attack won't be the last one. And it won't be with the movement. It will be against everyone. Everyone who stands for the liberation of African people, and everybody who declares justice for all. Because you know that the colonizers, you know that the imperialists, you know that the U.S. government doesn't want our liberation to happen because their existence is based off of sucking the blood of the. Now, it's not popular for us to say these words at this particular time. We're supposed to just keep our head down and say, thank you for not treating us harshly. But it's important that we say the truth for what it is, and we still run full steam ahead when it comes to the liberation of Africa. And I cannot thank our brother, Chairman O'Malley, enough for his steadfastness, for the contribution that he made for our community. So this is not only an international national fight, we also have to remember the local fight too. There is so much impediments placed in the way of just us living in dignity that they have brought to this particular community. The projects, the businesses, the self-determination, and just as we declare solidarity in terms of the fight with the U.S. government, all of the government and all initiatives against the liberation and dignity of Black folks, we got to be mindful of it, be willing to fight against it. So I have to go. I just want to thank our brother for the fight. I want to thank Jesse, and everyone who has contributed to this fight. But we should not relax. We should not get too comfortable. And you know, these people are so losers. But I just want to say, as I've always stated, that I wholeheartedly fully support Chairman O'Malley. Thank you all.
Tabula. Okay, we have another guest. We have another guest. How? Off the break. All right, victory has won. Wow. It is awesome. I mean, the feeling now, you know, when people come in my face, not only can I give them straight, but we got the backup, we got the evidence, right? We got the proof,
Yes,
right?
Uhuru.
And that feels really, really great because, you know, people are in my face. You be those people. Yeah, you was torturing them people over there. Yeah. I saw her. And, you know, it was crazy. The ignorance, first of all, that, you know, that folks in our community. And so I just thank Chairman and just all of you because it's a team. All the stuff, all the sacrifices that you all have made, all the work that you put in. And sometimes I tell Zaki, you know, they shaming us. They came from out of town. They've been here, you know, only, you know, what, 10 years now, too? Been here about 10 years since 2014. This is 2024. And y'all just doing the darn thing. You know, I'm proud of you. I'm proud to know you. I was proud when I was able to go to court with you guys in September. A little disappointed I didn't get a chance to speak, but I did when I was there. At the press conference at the courthouse for the whole week. Like he and I was there, and it felt good to be able to stand up.
Yes.
Stand up and fight.
Yes,
Stand up and fight. For that,
yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so often we know how that can turn out when the big boys come out, right? They make up their lives, and then it's supposed to be the truth because it was on TV. It was on the news, and it must be a fact. You know? And so you all stood strong. You round up the community. A lot of communities stand with you. I mean, you had support across the whole country. And that is phenomenal. You know, that was phenomenal, you know. And it was so interesting to see how the FBI just was dumbfounded. I mean, it was a joke. They were totally dumbfounded, didn't have any answers, any backup, blaming it on the next person and all of that, you know, but I'm just glad that Allah, higher power, whatever you want to call it, God, whoever you want to address the higher power to, I'm glad that he did his work. I'm glad that he allowed the truth to prevail. I'm glad that the outcome is what it is, and it shouldn't even be that.
Right.
You know, it should be, I'm sorry, kick me up my ass because we tripped. That's what it should have been saying, for real. But the best they can do is say, no jail time, no fine. You know, that's their way of saying we effed up. That's what it is. That's what they really just saying. We effed up, but we can't say it. But they had nothing. You know, so thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts. And thank you for welcoming me every time I come here. Thank you for all you do. All you do in the community, you know, the name, the thought, the accomplishments. Thank you for the leadership, because we know without his leadership, it wouldn't be what it is. You know, I haven't read all his books and started reading, but I'm still reading. And I'm learning, I learn all the time. And I thank you so much.
Uhuru.
Thank you, Tammy.
Uhuru.
I'm not talking right now. And then it's right out there.
Uhuru.
Experience because she was there on the ground at campus. And she's on the ground here in St. Louis. And she's a part of the Black is Back coalition. Is Chairman O'Malley is leadership staff. And I know if she just said one word, one line, that it would be perfect because she's talking about. Right, you did. Come back. Now it's time to start hearing from the people that was part of this Uhuru win, we're gonna go with Comrade Jesse Neville, who has Honda.
Uhuru, everybody. It's really an honor to be here, as always, here in the Uhuru House in St. Louis, and here with the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And I just want to start by saying that, you know, I'm honored to be here as a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee and Uhuru Solidarity Movement, organized under the leadership of the party to go into the white community and win reparations to African people. And I'm also honored to be here as one of the Uhuru Three. And I do not say that lightly. As I have said before, it is the most profound honor I have ever had to be targeted as one of the Uhuru Three alongside Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the primary target, and Chairwoman Penny Hess, the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, who are the two people who have been and continue to be the greatest leadership and revolutionary inspiration to me and what kind of life I want to lead. So I salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Chairwoman Penny Hess. I also want to salute Deputy Chair Onus Yeshitela, whose leadership is felt throughout every facet of the movement, who has been a key part of this victorious fight back that was launched on July 29th of 2022 in so many ways. So Uhuru and salute to you. So I just want to say a few quick words about the victory, what happened on December 16th in Tampa, Florida. And I appreciate looking at that footage. That was a very powerful moment. If we can send this out to people, but on, I think it was channel 13 or channel 10 Fox, they broadcast the whole press conference, and you can hear more of the people cheering and screaming, and that is very, very moving to hear that. So, but basically, as Comrade Janeba said in that powerful statement, the U.S. government and the FBI brought their full weight down on the Uhuru movement, on Chairman Omali Yeshitela, on the African People's Socialist Party. And as the chairman has said, this was an attack on African people. This was an attack on free speech and the right of African people to organize for self-determination. And even though they brought down their full weight, hundreds of FBI agents, millions of dollars spent, they even used the prosecution of the Uhuru Three as their main accomplishment for 2024 on the DOJ National Security Division's congressional budget request that they submitted, asking for another $150 million or so, based on what they perceive to be the victory, the accomplishment of prosecution before the trial even happened, the prosecution of the Uhuru Three. They had a lot riding on this. Yeah, they didn't stand a chance. They should have known that on the day that they were hoping the chairman and the Uhuru movement would run for cover, July 29th of 2022, which was actually the day that we won. Because that was the day that instead of running for cover, the chairman stood strong, surrounded by people, including Jesse Todd, including Zaki Uhuru, including members of the community, and Deputy Chair Ona stood strong on the front steps of their home that just an hour before had been invaded, besieged by military forces with the FBI and St. Louis police and regional and county police. They stood strong and launched the heroic fight back that culminated, at least this state, culminated with the victory that just happened on December 16th. And there's so much that happened in between July 29th, that's about 2.5 years from the day to when we walked out of that courthouse, that I know I don't have time to go into all of it, but some of it you remember. They arrested an Uhuru movement member right out here just a few months after the raids, charged him with some false charge of so-called terroristic threats, and used it just to get him to the jail cell was then interrogated by FBI agents about this case. They, of course, a few weeks before the raids, there was the torching of the flag in San Francisco, Florida. The red, black, and green flag by somebody who came with a military grade flamethrower and torched that flag. The U.S. government State Department put out a $10 billion reward for anyone who would come forward and collaborate with their attempt to imprison Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the And in spite of all of that, they had no one, except for, as was mentioned, 14 either paid FBI agents or paid so-called academics, nothing about the case who were called to testify. And just so everyone is clear, and I think everybody here certainly is, people have asked us, where do you think this prosecution started from? And we have no illusions about where this prosecution came from. It did not originate from a prosecutor's office in Tampa, Florida. It originated from and was orchestrated by Washington, D.C., the White House. And we know that because for a variety of reasons, including the fact that the prosecution itself was coordinated by the National Security Division, the Public Export Section, the Public Integrity Section, and several other national divisions of the Department of Justice, but also because during the time frame after the prosecutors told us they were expecting to indict us, months would go by, and whenever our lawyers would ask them, when are they expecting this indictment to come down, they would say, we thought we would have it already, we're just waiting on the green light from Washington, D.C. So this was very clear, a Biden-Harris prosecution that was carried out at the highest levels of the U.S. government. And in spite of all of that, through the brilliant and courageous leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, building the anti-colonial free speech movement, forcing the U.S. government to have to contend with its own constitution, its own Bill of Rights, its own First Amendment, and through the popular movement that was built around this, packing the courts, the 1,600 character letters that everybody in this room contributed to, this judge had never seen anything like that. And when we stepped into that courtroom, I now just want to close by taking you into the courtroom with us on December 16th, tell you a little bit about what happened and then what happened when we stepped out. So we were there for, originally we were told it was going to be 3 hearings, one at 9, one at 10, one at 11. They ended up doing all 3 at once. And the judge, William Jung, started off by saying that, he started off by just sort of opening it and going over objections to what they call the pre-sentence reports that were filed by the probation office, a lot of which had to do with how they characterized evidence from the trial. So it almost felt like we were back in the trial for a minute because our lawyers and the prosecutors were going back and forth about these false characterizations in the pre-sentence report. The judge was mostly overruling our objections, and that process went on for about 30 or 40 minutes. Then the judge turned to the prosecutors. It was their turn to make their pitch, basically, for why the judge should sentence the chairman and Uhuru to prison. And he indicated to the prosecutor that basically, he was going to need to be talked into that if that was going to happen. Because he said, you're hard pressed to find a judge in this courthouse that is going to send, as he put it, an 83-year-old man to prison with a criminal history score of 0. Or he said for 3 years. So at that point, personally, I still wasn't sure which direction it was going. Then it turns to the prosecutors, and this was quite a performance to watch. It was the most desperate, floundering, sweaty, incompetent performance by Daniel Marcet, we'll call him by name, the lead prosecutor on this case, that I had witnessed up to this point. And there were some pretty bad moments for him during the trial. He got up there, he's talking about, well, if the Russians were here, yes, that would be a different story. But, these guys are, they're not quite that bad. They're not down here. They're somewhere in here. I'm like, what? This is his argument? And then he tried to use the fact that we were acquitted on the foreign agent charge to his advantage. Because the judge had pointed out this legal problem that he said was troubling him of the incompatibility between the 2 charges. Essentially, how can you knowingly and willfully conspire to commit a crime when the crime is one where the government doesn't have to prove you even knew the law existed? So the Marcet tried to say, well, judge, that's, maybe that's a good point, but it doesn't really matter in this case because they weren't convicted of the crime. Like, thank you for reminding him of that. And then he finished his little spiel, the judge was very unimpressed by it and actually corrected something he said about the law, and then turned to us and said that he wasn't considering prison time, he wasn't considering a fine, and that that he was looking at 36 months probation. And I just want people to know that originally the goal of the US government was to imprison Chairman Omali Yeshitela for up to 15 years and the Uhuru Three and impose a fine on each of the Uhuru Three of up to $500,000. Okay, then when we beat them on the foreign agent charge, the potential that was being looked at was each of the Uhuru Three going to prison for up to 5 years and having a $250,000 fine imposed. By the time we got to the sentencing hearing, the government, the prosecutors, put forward a sentencing memo asking for the highest sentence against the chairman. They said 3 years of imprisonment plus 3 years of, quote, supervised release, plus a $100,000 fine that they wanted to impose on the chairman, 2 years for Chairwoman Penny and myself each, and a $20,000 fine on Chairwoman Penny Hess. And the result was not 1 day, not $1. Probably out of time, but the last thing I wanted to tell you about is that the judge, when he talked about the fine, he said, you know, a fine is supposed to be a punishment on the individual, but you know, these people, they'll just fundraise for it.
Yeah.
And the reaction you just had was what was happening in court. And then, which is a testament again to the people and to the strategy and to the party, that it neutralized their ability to use this resource extraction as a punishment, because they said, well, they're a movement. They're just going to raise the money for it anyway.
Yep.
He also said something like the probation conditions, you know, that maybe they won't allow them to talk to people in Russia, but you know, if they want to talk to the Salvadorian National Liberation Committee or something like that, that's okay with me, which was a very interesting comment for him. He didn't say Canada or something like that. So clearly he was continuing to show his awareness of who the movement is. He also said he thanked our supporters. He thanked the people who were there and said that they had been wonderful, et cetera, et cetera. And then he walked out of the court. And as he walked out of the court, the entire packed courtroom and a huge group of people in the hall right outside the courtroom erupted into cheers and applause and chants of not 1 day, not 1 dime, not 1 day, not 1 dime. So we walked out of the courtroom behind the chairman, and the prosecutors also had to walk out of that courtroom. And I was told by observers that they did the walk of shame through the crowd of people, and then came out for the press conference that you all just saw. So it was a tremendous, beautiful victory for African people, for the anti-colonial struggle, and for everyone who believes in freedom and self-determination. And like the chairman said, the reason the judge had the opportunity to do what he did and to make the statements that he made is because the African community, the Uhuru movement, the chairman fought back and won. Uhuru.
Now I'm gonna bring you another fighter. Next fighter. Spirit, but she don't look like. Just fire her up and just let her fly. I am talking about the one and only Comrade Penny.
And Comrade Jesse for that great presentation and summation of this fight. And I want to salute my incredible leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Had no idea what they got themselves into. And that this is Chairman O'Malley's power. He understands the world, he understands dialectics, the whole connection of everything about this period and how things got to be the way they are. And he understands and has put out this reality that this government and this system is colonialism, is what the chairman calls the colonial mode of production, that there's nothing that white people or this society can have that is not built on the kidnapping of African people, the enslavement of African human beings, the theft of this land, and US and capitalist domination of the entire world for the benefit of you. This is what the chairman has put out, what he has understood. And so it has been incredible to go through this struggle of this fight back that the chairman has led. And let me just say that the chairman was responsible for leading the movement that freed Desi Woods back in the 1970s. That was an African woman who was in prison for over 22 years for killing a white man with his own gun who tried to rape her and her friend. And they never thought that she would get out of prison. This was in Georgia, way out in the country of Georgia. And the chairman took that on. It became a worldwide case. And Desi Woods, who had an African name, Rashida Muhammad, was freed. She flew to Oakland. She has a street named after her in Oakland, California. This is the party the chairman took on Pitts and Lee, a case in Florida. African people facing the death penalty and got them released. It goes on and on and on. And because the chairman understands that the victory is in the people, and that the victory is to put the state on trial, and this is what the chairman has done. So yes, it was a powerful victory that no fine, and the judge was like, nah, they're a movement, they're just gonna raise the money anyway, they're not gonna pay this fine as individuals. And he said that, well, 300 hours of community service is what you all do. It's what you can do that standing on your head, he said, that's what you all do. So that's our punishment. We are on probation, and that will probably be shortened. It could be, but the chairman has won the, he won so much, and all throughout this process of the last 2.5 years, and actually in the last 52 years of the African People's Socialist Party, the chairman has been winning and winning the war of ideas the whole way. So one of the first things that the chairman did to take on this struggle was in 1976, building the African People's Solidarity Committee to end the isolation that this government has put on the African Revolution, and to put white people under the leadership of the African Revolution with a mandate to go into the white community, win other white people, to look at the world as it really is, and to recognize that if we want to see ourselves as progressive, as socialists, we have to be under the leadership of the African Revolution. It's not going to ever be white people telling African people what it means to be socialist, progressive, or anything else. So the chairman turned the whole world right side up with the creation of the APSC.
Uhuru.
Created it for this kind of fight back then, based on what the US government did to the African Revolution of the 1960s, and said that was never going to happen that way again. And the chairman was right, the chairman won. And I just want to say that the chairman led this struggle politically. This was a political trial. The chairman said that from day one. And in meeting and winning the attorneys and the lawyers who were not the William Kunslers, the Lynn Stewarts, the Charles Garys, that, you know, these brilliant political lawyers that we knew in the 1960s and 70s. The chairman trained won these attorneys to the political question, and they kicked ass. They carried out and embraced and you know, embodied what the chairman called for them to do, and that they could be won. It was very exciting. It was a whole week. I think we started meeting with the attorneys at least a year in advance. And the chairman started giving them political education right away. And, you know, and it was really powerful because, again, it was not the 1960s when lawyers wrote books then about how to be a political lawyer, how to take on, represent the African liberation movement. There's nothing like that now. So the chairman opened up a whole new period just to do that. And the chairman even won the judge. And the judge did the right thing.
Yes.
The judge did the right thing. And he, by the end, was articulating things that were in our motions. Our motions, that he was saying, this is free speech, that he was saying that, you know, that where's the crime? You know, like, give me something. He kept saying, give me something to go on. And he did the right thing in so many ways. So, you know, that was because of the work that the chairman did to say that this is a political trial. And I just want to say that we talk about the kind of support that this won, hands off the group that the chairman won, you say across the political spectrum. So this wasn't white leftists, this was all kinds of people. And always, as people were struggling to articulate their place in it. It wasn't just a static kind of, okay, we're preparing to go to trial. It was constantly winning people. So we had the U.S. arms inspector of the U.S. military,
Yep.
who was there
Mm-hmm.
and who was articulating that he had a right to hear Chairman O'Malley Shatella.
Uhuru.
That Chairman O'Malley Shatella worked with investigation. So he was saying that we had every sector of Mexican movement, indigenous movement, African movement, Puerto Rican movement, coming alive as in an earlier period to first of all be, you know, embody their national liberation movement, and to do this in the umbrella, I guess we would say, of the African liberation movement, which is what it was in the 1960s. We did have at the court at least 150 people there. That is really powerful. People from all over. We had libertarians who stood against colonialism. We had the Julian Assange, the leader of the Julian Assange movement, who was there, who's very friendly, warm, you know, comrade, who just had tremendous support for this. We just had every nationality. We had every kind of organization, from the white left to to socialist organizations now under the leadership of this movement. And what the chairman did was redefine the whole movement, re-energized it, brought it to life again, and redefined it. That it's not something that white people say, oh, this is the socialist movement. Now, all of this revolves around not whether you are libertarian or this or that, or US military or Marine or something. Where do you stand in relationship to the African People's Socialist Party and the fight for independence? So we are very, very excited to be able to go forward, go on tour to win people, more people to open this up. Our families were there. It was just so great, and people were so happy to see the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, the African movement come alive again. Everybody wants to be part of this train, and it is moving forward. So we did win. We are winning, and we will continue to win. This is a new period, comrades, and we are going to see just the flowering of the kind of movement that we saw in the 1960s under the leadership of the African Liberation Movement, which is where it has to be for the liberation of Africa, African people, for the liberation of the indigenous people, for the freedom of India and Leonard Peltier and oppressed and colonized peoples here and around the world. So it is powerful. It's a great honor to be on the winning side. Uhuru!
Uhuru! Uhuru!
She was fearless.
Uhuru.
Now I would like to bring up one of our guests and the President General of Universal African People Organization. I was not going to say UAPO, but our own friend and comrade, General Zaki Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru. Uhuru. Uhuru.
Black power.
Black power.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
And assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Let me just first of all say that today I've been so tied up, and I didn't even know I was going to make it, but I made it.
That's all right.
Because my word is very important.
Uhuru.
And I'm here to salute the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru movement, for the outstanding victory. Let's give it up for the victory. Our organization, the Universal African People's Organization, stands very proudly with not only the African People's Socialist Party, but also the Black is Back Coalition.
Yes.
Of which I've met some outstanding human beings that want to transform a society that don't give a damn about the masses of the people.
Right.
Also, being in Tampa, Florida twice, and I want to acknowledge one of my comrades that was with me the first time during the crowd, Miss Coffee Wright. Coffee, stand up. Then coming back for the sentencing. Let me just say, for me, the sentencing was a victory. But if I had my way, well, I don't know if you had the authority, probation should have been 2 days, 1 day, no days. It's a damn shame that the progressive movement in this country got to go through what they had to go through.
Yeah.
That's a damn shame.
Yeah.
I just want to remind the people of the damn shameness of it. The morning of the raid, I think July 29th, right? Took me back as a young person, back in 1969, I believe, when there was a raid on Fred Hampton and Mark Clark of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, where the Federal Bureau, in conjunction with the Chicago Police Department, made a raid 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. But before they made the raid, they directed a agent that was among the party to put a drug in the drink of Fred Hampton so he could be discombobulated at the time of the raid. And pursuant to the raid, shooting over 100 times into their apartment and in the end killing Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. So that raid, and at that time it outraged me, and that was one of my first organizing effort in the community where we put together masses of folks protesting in the city I was living in, East St. Louis, Illinois, and subsequently I worked with the Panther Party. So that raid that morning, July 29th, traumatized me in terms of that happening again. A terror group.
Yes, that's what they are.
Let's understand that. Let's be clear what we're dealing with. And they're not playing either. And at any moment that they can, they will slander you.
Yeah.
And they will falsify things on you to imprison you. And ultimately, they may try to kill you per Dr. King, per Malcolm X, per a number of Panthers. So we have to be clear what we're dealing with. And we're dealing with a beast. Let me just put it out there from my perspective. We're dealing with a real beast. And that beast, I'm going to go out for 1 second because I'm kind of very pissed. Excuse me. Just, I don't know how many of you were aware that this governor who on the front page of our newspaper and the attorney general, we portrayed them as vampires. And a vampire, you know, they call him a bloodsucker, right? But how many of you are aware that this governor, one of the things that he did just the other day was commuted a convicted killer of a young black man named Charles Lane. Yes, a couple of days ago. They say we're supposed to go through the court system and try and get some justice, although we know there's injustice. That's their system. So I say all that to say, with this victory, we got a tremendous task ahead of us. And that task is we got to build a movement, an army. We need to have armies. Let me just be clear, in my humble opinion. And that's why our organization got out there a theory of 144,000. If we could get at least 144,000, we think we can kick a lot of ass. Okay? But that's the challenge. We got to bring more people into the movement. And then we have to use our power. And that power, you know, short of military, is economic power. We can shut this society, these bloodthirsty enemies of the people down when we have complete boycotts of certain industries or stop our consumer dollars. I just want to just put that out as a theory. Sure. And then at the same time, we got to have folks rising up to the challenge of running for a political office based on principles such as reparation and repatriation and a whole number of other issues. So that's the task that's ahead. And I was just motivated in Tampa by the masses of people that came to the rally. I was motivated by the same groups of people coming to the trial. And I was motivated knowing that hundreds of people wrote letters in support of, amnesty, basically. And I'm motivated by many of the people at the press conference that kept me hyped. I'm hyped like a mother. And I'm motivated by the fact that we are going to be victorious. And we got to keep that in our brain. We're going to be victorious. But that victory has got to be instilled in, like I say, serious organization, serious principles of action that impact the industry. So on that note, I'm good. Look like I wanted to say one other thing, but I'm good, Chairman. And I have to leave because I got another engagement. But again, by you being present, I'm really motivated. We really want to express appreciation to Comrade President General Zaki Barudi. And I'm sorry. I forgot one thing. Yeah, one thing. Also, our organization, as part of it, beyond just fighting the policy, we tried to have some programs to help the less fortunate. Earlier this year, we just supplied hundreds of socks, gloves, and caps for the students at Walbridge Elementary School, which we adopted as a school. But also, in the spirit of Kwanzaa, we'll be collecting coats and shoes and blankets for the unhoused / homeless. And we appreciate donations. You can take your donations to 9240, if you can remember, or 9420 West Florida, which is Ferguson Empowerment Community Center, or if you can bring them here and we'll pick them up also. Okay.
Before coming Zaki gets out, I want to say that not only was Zaki there on the 29th after the attack that was made on us, without any hesitation, no argument, no debate, no why can't you come kind of stuff, Zaki was there. I also want to say that it is part of the course for the kind of work that Zaki has done in this city for 35 or more years, and that we had ideological and political differences of the sort. I've known that, but that has not prevented the kind of solidarity, unity that has emerged, that has continued to develop with this comrade. This comrade has played a big role in the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. Part of the work to try to pull back together a movement that had been destroyed in the 1960s. He mentioned Fred Hampton as an example of that. That was the whole war that was made against our movement. And they had dispersed us all. They had even destroyed the ideas that held us together in terms of self-determination, anti-colonialism. And Zaki did come into the Black is Back Coalition that was pulled together to rescue our movement, to put us on a common course, so that even if we have different tactical things that we're dealing with and different kinds of programs, now everything that we might be doing as individual organizations go toward a common end. Yes. A common agreed upon end of self-determination. So even if we disagree about what that looks like, how we get there, but we've now agreed that self-determination, and then we've initiated some principles that would inform that. We've come together, we've created electoral schools. They said the Russians paid us to participate in elections. We organized electoral schools where we've been training people now to take people, make them free of the Democratic Party, free of Kamala Harris, free of Joe Biden, free of all of them, so that people can come to their own conclusions and determination. So I just wanted to express appreciation. We're going to build here, as Comrade Ronnie said, on the ground. It's not good enough just to talk about what we've done internationally and what we've done nationally. Right here in St. Louis, we can build. We have the kind of relationships now we can build. We can build the Black Community Convention that we were talking about for St. Louis, so we can come up with a common agenda for the entire people, the entire community, economically, politically, you name it, we can do those kinds of things. And that's what I'm looking forward to right here in St. Louis. I just want to say that. Thank you so much, President.
Hey, comrade, I know you should be fired up. I know you should be fired up. Not one day. Not one day. Uhuru. No, I came a part of the Uhuru movement when Chairman did his first rally here in St. Louis in in 2014, after Mike Brown was murdered. And he needed somebody to do culture, and my cousin asked me to come and do culture because she know I love culture. So, what Chairman had said that night hit me because he answered questions that I had for over 60 years, because at that time I was 60. Now, if he could answer all those questions for me, then I know he's got answers for the questions that you may have after we won this victory. So I will bring you the man with the answers, the man that knows culture, has its value, and the man that is out. He don't work for Russia. Who did he work for?
Black people.
You please stand. He's been here before, but I want to really bring him up. Chairman O'Malley, that should tell us.
Let's just demonstrate up to now. I know this meeting, well, we're not too bad yet.
No.
So I really want to express appreciation for everybody. And a point that I also want to make is clear, we don't work for Russia.
Right.
Let me tell you, I say this not in the sense that this is not an anti-Russian statement.
Right.
If I make some anti-statements, it won't be against Russia. The fact is that I don't know Black people with Russian last names.
Right.
And the reason we have these funny last names is because it's been Europeans. It's been England and France and Belgium and Spain, all those European countries that kidnapped us and tortured us, that took us into colonial bondage and slavery, that sold us and treated us like animals, with beasts of a burden, with no respect at all. And my name, I used to be called Joe Waller, because that was the name that was conferred upon my parents, by their parents, and it was the name that was conferred on all of us by a white man who presumed to own us as his property. By a white family that presumed to own us as their property. And that wasn't Russian. And so when I say I don't work for Russia, it's because I believe in self-determination. We're not going to get any new bosses, any new slave masters. We're going to run it ourselves. And when I changed my name from Joe Waller, I didn't change it to Alexander or Alex or anything like that. I changed it to an African name. And because names are really important, much more important than most people even understand. Because names contain within them thousands of years of history and what have you. It comes from some place. There's an origin of those names, and it means something. When you meet people, especially like Europeans with particular names, it's connected to something. It's you meet somebody named Carpenter, it's related to what they historically, their jobs, plumber, they've done stuff like that. That's where the names come from. And we have names also that's associated with who we are. And if they're not who we are, they're associated with what our village, our community, our parents, our family want us to be.
Yeah.
And so it never was, my parents never wanted me to be a property of a white man or a white family or anything like that. So I rejected that. And I reject this whole notion that somehow we will be employees, that we will try to. It's almost funny. Yeah. Can you imagine this? Here, Africans are on some kind of slave plantation, right? And so there's a debate. Let's break free from Mr. Randolph slave plantation, and then go and join the slave plantation over there with somebody else. No, that's not what it is. We're not looking for any slave masters. I want to also express appreciation to all of you. So many of you did so many incredible things of building for support and participating in this case. Sayali, who came into St. Petersburg, Florida, and worked on the ground for a couple of months, going door to door, doing the kind of work that we did, I did, in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, working and organizing these communities. Thank you, Comrade. I just want to express appreciation to Comrade Sayali for that kind of work. And to all of you who played some really important roles, Sister Carol, thank you for that calendar. Sister Carol looks out for me. She really does. And I appreciate that so much. And even though Sister Angelica couldn't be there, we heard from you. We knew that you were on the case and
Uhuru.
and wherever you were, we appreciate it. I cannot say enough that there are people in this room. I'm looking at, if you saw some of the images, the sketches that were made in the courtroom. In the courtroom, there's sketches that were made that were showing all of us in there, and Comrade Hallie and then Comrade Ruby. They were in the court. They were like doing sketches. And I'll never forgive you for what you made my head look like. I used to think I was a pretty good looking guy. Well, what the hell, you can't have everything. Most of you are not aware that I had a serious health issue before I left. Something like 3 days before I left, I had a real serious health issue, and I woke up in the hospital. And I'm not going to go too much into that, except I woke up in a hospital surrounded by incredible comrades. Didn't know how I got there. Kenge was there, in charge. Deputy Chair was there. Jesse Neville was there. Amanda was there. Penny was there. Comrade Allison was there. Maureen was there. And so I woke up not knowing how the hell I got there or anything, but I was all right. I knew I was all right. When I looked up and saw all these comrades who were there. Not only did I have comrades who were there, I discovered, though I didn't know it at the time, that I had a personal nurse. So there was a tremendous amount of security in that room, in that hospital. That included, in the very care situation that I had been thrust into as well. Amanda worked at the hospital. She was in her scrubs. She got off work and came and told them she was my personal nurse and made sure that everything was cool. We have a hell of a movement, powerful and strong movement. And this is something that they didn't understand, and we continue ourselves to be reinforced in terms of what this movement is about, who we are as well. I just want to say that everybody here should be here all the time. We don't have much time, and I promise you that our meeting will be much better organized in terms of time. We just came from this trial, and we think it's extremely important for you and everybody else to understand what happened and what is happening. We made an incredible, incredible leap. This thing is not over. The fact of the matter is that they attacked us and arrested us because of our effectiveness in this struggle for the liberation of African people. In fact, that we were breaking down all of these barriers that separated colonized people from each other. We were opening up doors of understanding, ideologically, creating different kinds of organizations. We talk about Black is Back. We organized Black is Back to solve a revolutionary problem. We organized so many other entities out there. And this is one of the reasons that we organized here. How many, we came here with the murder of Mike Brown. How many groups came here? They came from everywhere. I saw them. I had some more sellout per square inch in St. Louis that I haven't seen any place else. They came after this murder of Mike Brown. They got tons and tons and tons of money from people like Soros and others who were passing out money like it was water, and trained them to work in these communities and what have you, to be community organizers. We saw that. But after the cameras left and what have you, so did they. But we've been here on the ground, building on the ground, because we didn't come here to get cameras. We came here to organize, because what happened in St. Louis revealed to us that the passion of resistance that was here, that had been murdered in the 1960s when they had crushed our movement, assassinated leaders and things like that. And we've been looking how to get a good grip on moving this struggle forward. And then we saw that right here in St. Louis. I should tell you, when we did the press conference in Tampa, Florida, in that audience in Tampa, Florida, among the people who were there was Pam Africa. Pam Africa from Philadelphia. She was a member of the MOVE organization. She was a member of the MOVE organization Africa. She was a member of that organization where the government dropped the bomb. You understand? They used a helicopter and dropped military-grade C4 explosive on that community, on their house. It destroyed, they killed 11 children, women and men. And they set the place on fire. A whole community was set on fire. And the fire department was told to let it burn, let it burn.
Yeah.
This is the situation, but when they did it, we put out a slogan, said that reinforcements are on the way. The African People's Socialist Party went in there when they did it, because if they were able to do that, and there was no response to it, they had made a great signal to every terrorist organization, I'm talking a government organization in this country that is permissible to do this kind of thing to black people. We didn't go in there for us. They didn't bomb us. They bombed our people, and this was symbolically significant, as everybody should know. And there was no movement among the white population when they did it. You saw nothing coming from the white population. So we organized and went into Philadelphia. That's how we got to Philadelphia. And that's ultimately how Pan Africa just got to Tampa, Florida, to be with us there. Fred Hampton Jr. was there. He is the son of Fred Hampton, who was killed December 4th, 1969, by collaboration with the Chicago Police Department and FBI, who, it has been mentioned, used the snitch and put him in, paid him to participate in the organization, and he put drugs in Fred Hampton's Kool-Aid to make sure that he was helpless in his bed when they came at 4 o'clock in the morning and shot their way in. Hundreds of bullets were fired in there. They killed Fred Hampton there. And Fred's mother, Fred Hampton Jr., mother was more than 8 months pregnant when they came in, pregnant with him. She was in the bed with Fred Hampton when they shot through the wall. She talked to me about how she could feel the pillow, the mattress just vibrating from the bullets that were coming through the wall there. And Fred Jr. was born something like 2 weeks after that happened. And she talks about how when they finally got them to stop shooting, and the cops came in and saw her in the bed, and she was laying on top of Fred so that he could protect him from the bullets that were coming through the wall. Russians? What the hell are you talking about? Russians having to educate us about our situation, our condition. And so she was laying there to protect him. And they came in and dragged her out and said, look what we got, look here, we got a broad, put her up against the wall, open up her gown to show her pregnant belly. This is the treatment that happened there. And they shot and killed Mark Clark in that same, and lied about it. Just like they lied about everything they said about us. They killed, they had a shootout with the Panthers when they had actually knocked on the door and did some crazy kind of call in response to the security, young Mark Clark, who was on security. And what happened was the only shot that came from inside that building was from Mark Clark, and that was the death grip that when they shot him through the door, he had a shotgun in his hand, and that's the only round that came from them. And the media knew that. Everybody knew that. But this is the treatment of African people in this country, but something now has changed. It's not going down that anymore. You didn't see any white movement when they killed Fred. You didn't see any white activists and outrage coming from the white communities. When they killed Malcolm, you didn't see any white outrage coming there. When they killed the Prince of Peace, if you will, Martin Luther King, you didn't see white outrage out there. They didn't have to do that. They had isolated the African liberation movement effectively, but this time was different. And things have changed. And so they attacked us. They also had to, on the north side, they had to attack us on the south side. When they attacked the Black liberation movement in blackface on the north side, they had to attack the Black liberation movement in whiteface on the south side. And I wanted to say also, I wanted to, and did not mention Lynn Demmer and all the other people who played roles in this incredible reenactment of the trial, where was remarkable. If you haven't seen it, you should find a way to see it. Go to handsoffahuru.org and look at that. So they attacked us. It was the equivalent of them picking up a big rock and dropping it on their own foot.
Yeah.
Because we have been functioning as a magnet, pulling together all of the so-called progressive forces throughout this country and some parts of the world, who are now speaking the same language, who are now on the same general trajectory, who now recognize the legitimacy and leadership of the African liberation movement. That's powerful. And we've opened the door for white people who want to take the right stance. They know now Penny Hess and Jesse Neville, and they can do it. This is what they've become symbolic of. And their heroism is not just some white heroism. Their heroism is a heroism that defies all of the logic of white nationalism and this colonial power. They turned their backs on colonialism. They committed national suicide, if you will, abandoned the aspirations of the colonizers and united with the legitimate aspirations of those of us who are colonized. That's the trajectory. That's the thing that we have kicked off. That's the thing that we have started. But they aren't finished with us.
Right.
The government did not attack us because we broke some law. They know we didn't break any law. They know Marcus Garvey didn't use the mail to defraud the government. They knew Marcus Garvey used the mail to build African economic independence.
Yeah.
And they saw that's what we were doing. And they also saw how we were helping the people to break out of this ideological trap they've been bound in. We've given political and ideological direction. We've solved all the basic problems, ideological and political problems that had the movement trapped and mired in a state of lethargy and backwardness. We did that. And that's part of the reason that they attacked us. And because we have been so effective, we pulled together, we have initiated the reunification of Africa. When I say that, I'm talking about there are not people talking about united Africa, but not under a common philosophy for a long time. Not under a common organization. We have organizations moving throughout the continent of Africa right now. We have organization that's moving in Europe right now. Black people who are struggling, recognizing the absolute total need for the liberation and unification of African people everywhere in the world, and to the responsibility to rescue all our happiness.
Yes.
Our happiness and the resources that have been stolen from us, the material resources that's necessary for people to live, so that now we create a situation where Africa is engaged in the production of life, but not for the colonizers. We're talking about a movement where Africa can engage in the production of life for ourselves so that we can live.
Yes.
And that's a critical kind of thing. I cannot overstate that.
Yeah.
And Africans in many instances have become accustomed to not having a capacity just to live, accustomed to not assuming that their children will even live for a year. This and living in the worst kind of humiliation, that's what we live with, but we're not doing that anymore.
Right.
No.
And the consequence of what we are doing this movement, everybody who's here needs to be here next Sunday.
Uhuru.
Right.
They need to find a way to be here the Sunday after that. We need to use these meetings as our own community meetings, as our own meetings to solve problems in our community and for our people to get together to make that kind of stuff happen. That's what we need to be doing.
Yes.
And not just to come and to have discussion. I appreciate the fact. And if we look at the kind of work that we've done, and we see how many people, can I see the hands of people here who know who Scott Ritter is? Many of you do, some don't. Scott Ritter is a guy who was a Marine. And he was a weapons inspector. He participated in weapons inspections dealing with the nuclear disarmament stuff that was supposed to be happening with the Soviet Union, Russia. He dealt with in Iraq when they were preparing to murder people in Iraq. In fact, went so far as to kill more than 1.5 million Iraqis, many of them children, before an official declaration of war ever occurred. And so they were claiming that Iraq had these weapons of mass destruction hid someplace there.
Right.
They used an African, Colin Powell, who had been a general, big-time Negro general and what have you. And because Scott Ritter kept saying, as an investigator, he was an inspector. And I didn't know this guy, but I knew his name because there's this one guy who kept saying there are no weapons of mass destruction here.
Yeah.
I kept reading that, and I'm saying, who is this Scott Ritter guy? You know, and they did not like the fact that he continued saying that. So I didn't meet him or anything till this case. And when this case happened, he may have got in touch with us. I'm not sure how this connection happened, but he's been with us all along. And I wanted Scott Ritter to be there. Some people don't like Scott Ritter being here. because Scott Ritter says, I am as white as you can be.
Yeah.
He said, I am very, 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 very white.
Yeah.
He says, I am a U.S. patriot.
Yeah.
But I think that patriotism requires for me to fight for your right to speak, for your right to be heard. He says, I recognize that it's not just about you having the right to speak, but I have the right to hear what you got to say. Because from what I've heard right now coming from you, I unite with what it is that you're saying. So we making Scott Ritter, turning him into an anti-holiness. I'm not trying to make him some kind of anti-racist. I don't give a damn about this whole question of whether white people like us and racism, etc. But can you be against colonialism? And that's something he can be against without having to be against himself, his mama, his cousin, and his neighbors. He can be against colonialism, and he can win his cousin, his mama, and his neighbors to be against colonialism too. That's the objective that we have. And so when people tell us they don't like to talk to Scott Ritter, hell yes, I want to talk to Scott Ritter, because when I do talk to Scott Ritter, when I do these interviews with Scott Ritter, I'm talking to white people. The white left doesn't have a relationship to white people. They just have a relationship with each other. I want to talk to all the people who believe in Scott Ritter, follow Scott Ritter. I want them to come out saying the same thing Scott Ritter says. I talked to Tucker Carlson. They say Tucker Carlson is a fascist. I don't know what the hell that is, to tell you the truth. But the fact is that Tucker Carlson came out against the attack that was being made against us. And this was about the anti-fascists that was making this attack. That was against Biden. That was against Kamala Harris and what have you. He was able to unite with us where they couldn't.
Right.
You understand? So breaking out of that, creating a whole new political arena, whole new political language, whole new political relationships based on concrete stuff at this time, at this moment in history.
Yes.
So you might not have known it, but and perhaps it was mentioned. But initially, as it was mentioned, that the state had intended to put me in prison for 15 years, all of us, and $250,000 fine. Was it $250,000 fine? Yeah.
Yes.
And at the last hearing that we just had, sentencing hearing, the sentencing memorandum they had offered was to put me in prison for 3 years, and to put me on probation for 3 years, and for me to pay a $100,000 fine. But they wanted more than a $100,000 fine. In other words, they got me in a situation where I got to pay reparations to the state.
Right.
I got to pay reparations. Black people paying reparations to them. So they wanted more than that, because we're involved in the IRS dispute, because we sold a house some time ago. And so they say that, and because of the dispute we were involved in, like they've been adding penalties to that as well, that total up to $90,000. So the prosecutor wanted the judge to order me to pay a $100,000 fine and more than $90,000 from the IRS disputed tax bill that they have.
Right.
They came for blood, and they were not able to collect it. And so we had incredible lawyers. And I want to say also, people have commented, and I think it's true. We shouldn't have spent a day in detention under stress, 2.5 years. This is brutal. 2.5 years, and then we have to report to somebody. I had to report to somebody who's got his job because of the work I've done. I mean that literally, a black man who got his job because of the work that I've done in the 1950s and 60s. That's why they had to hire him. Right. And so, so we had to go through this every week, have to report to this person. He can come to our house when he wants to come to our house. I had to get permission to travel any place I went. These are the conditions we lived on, and then still not sure that they were not going to crash our house any other time anyway. Yeah. So this is 2.5 years we lived with this. And we still dealing with probation issues, but the probation issues at least a bit different. And even the judge has made statements to the person, to the probation department in terms of how liberally that they should be treating us, but we're still on probation. Yeah. But the judge, it was a gutsy thing the judge did. And I did not recognize this initially. I did believe, and from the beginning of this process, that the judge was asking for us to give him the legal information and case law and what have you that he could use to dismiss the case. I always felt that in the beginning of this process, but after that, I wasn't sure where we were going. But because it was a political case that was not having to deal with the law, the fact that the judge made the decision that he made, no jail time, no fine or anything like that, that took a lot of guts. But everything is in turmoil, and this is what I want you to understand, brothers and sisters and comrades, that we do not live on some island, that we are part of the world, and the world is undergoing a profound, tremendous change right now. The political and economic configuration of the world is in a state of flux right now. The election of Donald Trump was representative of that, and even how they are trying to contain the law of the state in order to make sure that it doesn't do damage to them. And what does our case have to do with that? That's the question they had to solve too. Because if free speech was an issue here, was it an issue with Donald Trump? Was it an issue with people who are involved in all these other political cases? And they are political cases that was made against Trump. The Biden administration used the law, the court, as a part of a campaign strategy to destroy the ability of Trump to remain a formidable kind of campaign force, and they lost there. And part of where we are is that we look at our case, we look at the election. What the election showed us is a diminishing influence of the African petty bourgeoisie, the black middle class, the ones who stood before to block us from being able to get this resolution on the Dred Scott thing that would prohibit the police from cooperating with the FBI. That petty bourgeoisie, the petty bourgeoisie that lives in this city that tried to bring the National Guards in to attack the African community that want to prevent us from putting a basketball court because black people just gonna come out and shoot ourselves. That petty bourgeoisie, the petty bourgeoisie that stands between us and open up this bakery cafe to meet the needs of the community here. That petty bourgeoisie, the petty bourgeoisie that function as a front for U.S. colonial power, like the Barack Hussein Obama, like Kamala Harris. That petty bourgeoisie, we saw the diminishing influence of all of them because they all came out to try to get the African population to vote for Kamala Harris in the fashion that they had done for this other guy in the past, and it didn't work. It didn't work. In fact, many of the Africans went the other direction. More Africans voted for Trump and the Republican Party than it ever happened. And you saw Mexicans and so-called Latinos doing the same thing. They lost their grip. The media, the white media, the ruling class media, we saw the diminished influence of the ruling class media. They used to be able, all of the media, you saw them, they were all anti-Trump. They were all for Kamala Harris. They made ridiculous claims and charges here, and they failed. And it's a situation in a state of flux now. We have the ability, and this is what I am trying to convey to you now, why these meetings here are so important, why people coming together to grab our own future in our own hands, why this is so important. Because all of them have failed, and the masses of people are seeing that they have failed. They cannot rely on the Democratic Party. They cannot rely on the petty bourgeoisie. They cannot rely on the John Muhammads and the Kim Collins, and they cannot rely on them. But they've seen that we are persistent, that we are principled, that we strike and fight for the people, and that we can win. And this is the train they should be on if we do our right. So I've talked a lot. We had a lawyer my lawyer was Addie Griffin. She had a partner, Tom Inskeep, who worked mostly behind the scene. But Addie Griffin, in her open statement, she was very clear. As Comrade Penny said, we said from the very beginning, in fact, when we first started this case, I asked them, is there any of you lawyers who think we're guilty? Because if that got a yes, I was gonna fire everybody, right? I didn't want anybody to be defending us if they, and so, as lawyers can do, they, spoke effectively enough to stay on the case. But the fact is that Addie Griffin, my lawyer, she walked into that damn courtroom. And this is something I learned they have been debating, because I have been pushing that you got to put them on trial. And she walked into the courtroom and she said, Amali, you should tell her, is not for sale.
Yes.
He's a revolutionary.
Yes.
He's a person of principle.
Uhuru.
This is in the courtroom.
Uhuru.
We're not running for who we are. He's a revolutionary. She's telling the jury to unite with the fact that he is a revolutionary too. I'm acknowledging, and we are saying right up front, he is a revolutionary. He's a person of principle and whatever, and he's not for sale.
Uhuru.
And we have a lawyer who went there, Mutaka Akbar. Who said his opening statement was Uhuru.
Yes.
Here's a guy in the federal courthouse, and his opening statement is Uhuru.
Yes. Yes.
He said, it's Kiswahili for freedom.
Yes.
You're going to be hearing that word a lot in this courtroom. He said, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of assembly. You're going to be hearing that a lot in this case. This is our lawyer.
Yeah.
We had a lawyer who came and said that the chairman, Omani Chitel, was not working for Russians when he talked about the Ukraine question.
Right.
He even laid out how he used the podium to talk about how the United States goaded Russia into a war and what have you. It was an incredible trial. It was just mind-boggling. That's what we took into that courtroom. And we took the people to that. That courtroom was packed with all of our forces from all around the country. And the people who came, they came for different reasons. They came because they liked the way Penny smiled. They came for different reasons because Jesse is handsome and young. But the fact is, they got political education.
Yes.
Even our friends who thought they knew who we were came to understand who we were because that podium, that venue was used to provide political education. This is what the African People's Social Party wrote in 1979. This is what they said in 1977. This is their position, and this is all the way through that thing. And this is something that had already been done in terms of the documents that Leonard Goodman had written in the first place.
Yeah.
That thing was a winning thing. It gave us an opportunity to provide political education for that jury and for our base in this courtroom as well.
Yeah.
Everybody left there better understanding what this struggle is about than when they walked in. And so that's part of what I mean by they picked up a big rock and dropped it on their own foot.
Yes.
So, and I wanted to say those things because I think it's important. And the fact that 1,600 letters, the judge ain't never got no 1,600 letters. Bank robbers don't send 1,600 letters. Dope pushers don't send 1,600 letters. Or anything like that. And we had asked for the largest courtroom they had. We had the largest courtroom during the trial. And then they gave us the largest courtroom this time, but during the trial, they gave us an overflow room. They didn't do it this time. But that's all right.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'm inside. I don't know what's happening on the outside. I knew we were having a press conference at some point. But when that door opened, and me and Charles Barron standing arm in arm, walking out with all the people who were in the courtroom. And when the prosecutor is walking next to my lawyer, and they're getting to the door, and when that door opened, you could hear this chant that goes, "Take the ceiling off." Not one day, not one day. And the prosecutor was standing there, and Addie, my lawyer, was close by. and the door opened and she took it to the prosecutor and said, "You first." You first. And so, you know, that's part of what happened. But we have to fight for these institutions. They have not finished.
Yeah.
These institutions still stand.
Mm-hmm.
They will kill us in any way they can.
Yes.
Even after they killed Martin Luther King physically, they began to try to kill his character.
Yeah.
So that people wouldn't believe in him. They've come every way they can.
Mm-hmm.
And we are still involved in this incredibly significant struggle, but victory is on our side. And the thing is, because our security is in the people.
Yes.
As long as the people are kept informed and we can keep the people involved in this struggle, as long as you can come to these meetings and be an active agent in our own freedom, our own liberation, and what have you, there's not a damn thing that they can do to stop this.
Uhuru.
So I just want to express my appreciation to everybody. And I'm glad to see y'all again, because I can remember the first time I saw you. When I say y'all, I'm talking about y'all with that pretty little baby back there.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to thank you so much. And now there are probably people, you know, I know it's been a long time, long space, and I don't know if everybody who had something to say did say it or anything like that. And I don't want y'all to get mad with me, you know. At this point, I'm sucking up. Because I do want you to come back to the next meeting. Sunday, we're here Sunday, every Sunday at 3 o'clock, and we're going to try to get people involved in participating to build this meeting and to do other things in our communities to progress toward freedom. So come at 4 feet. Uhuru.
First of all, thank you for coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's not over yet. It's about. Thank you for coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank my chairman.
Yes.
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 Curtis, Angus, and Tom
Mm-hmm.
from Black Men Bill who
Uhuru.
came and stayed with us.
Uhuru.
Now, I want to give everybody the opportunity to be a part and give for your every dollar you give. I just put it like that. Is a day closer to revolution. Our goal today, we're going to do resources and membership, and we will start with our goal today is $200. Every dollar you give is $1 towards another win for Black liberation. Okay? The money we use, you see it. You experience it. The papers you see. This building, the comfort of the heat or the comfort of the cold is all in the resources that we bring in. We do not give or take government money. If we did, we would have already lost. We are here for the people, not Russia. Black people. All right. So, you can always give online at Cash App, InPDUM, or InPDUM.org/donate. How can I say? Like I said, every dollar I see is $1 towards my liberation. My children, my grandchildren, my adopted, they say extra kids. That was right there. I have so many. I gave birth to 2 children and I have 3 grandchildren. But I have a whole village of African relatives.
Yes.
Some I don't know, some I will never know. But the work I do, and the work you do, and the work that African People's Socialist Party, the InPDUM, Black Power Blueprint, the work of the Uhuru movement. Uhuru is freedom for African people. Okay? If you would like to be, how many people in here are not a part of the Uhuru movement? All right. Okay, if you would like to become a part of this movement to help educate and bring about change and liberation to African people, not only in this community, in St. Louis, but actually around the world. Because you know what? Our brothers are over there too.
Yeah.
Our cousins are over there. Our cousins are in around the world. Wherever African people are, we are all in the same predicament, colonialism. Okay? Now, if you would like to become a member, you can join a George Jackson or Desmond Woods level, which is membership of $5 a year. And that is for incarcerated members. If you know some, if you're related to some, and you want to bring them up on what's happening in the world, let them know about the win. Because it's not only our win, it's their win.
Uhuru.
African people won.
Yes.
Okay. Musa Bantu level of if membership is $10 annually for students and the unemployed. That means for $10 a year, you can be a part of the Uhuru movement, and you can also be a basic level member. Right now, it is a $10 special. We have a special. Now, I'm gonna tell you there are other levels. But whatever level you come in on, you have the same power as a Marcus Garvey member, and that's a lifetime membership. So whatever level you're on, you're in the mix, okay? You know, your voice is heard, your decisions and your ideas can be heard to help bring in other people and to move this, organization to the next level, and the next level is revolution. Okay. Anybody want to become a member? All right. I will be with both of you young men because giving back is what we do, and we will teach you whatever you need to know to make it happen. Uhuru? Did you hear me say we got 2 people that want to join the Uhuru? All right. Now, also, I would like to bring Comrade Westbrook up.
He's ready to
Africa.
Africa.
This is our culture.
Uhuru. How y'all doing today?
All right, Comrade.
Today's a beautiful day, beautiful day. We had some beautiful news, you know.
Yeah.
Not one day.
One day.
One time.
All right.
They get us closer and closer to our revolution,
Yes.
closer to our liberation. You know, our fighters still among us, our leaders still among us, and it's time for the time. But speaking of that one, but what I want to do, speaking of liberation, y'all don't mind if I sing a little song, right? Speaking of fighting, y'all don't mind if I sing a little, rap a little song. I don't sing, I ain't gonna hurt you that much. But this is what we're looking forward to. Yeah.
Play my home party in a home party. She said, something say you don't have to talk. He was getting out. We can attack. We get welcome to death. Then it's entertainment. God, sit up. Yeah, I appreciate y'all praise. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, I appreciate the many hours. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru.
I'm excited to hear y'all. Now I will bring Cieli up with the, Uhuru pies, correct?
Uhuru. Uhuru. Uhuru.
I just want to say that Westbrook, at one time, he represented the party, is that Baden? Say again? Baden, yeah. He was, doing political education in the community, and on the schools and stuff like that. That's the kind of work that we have to do to win, because that's what the foundation of the struggle is in this community. I want to acknowledge that from there.
Uhuru.
All right, Uhuru, everybody.
Uhuru.
All right, so we want everybody to don't forget the pies.
All right, Uhuru.
You can pick them up at table. We're gonna have today, tomorrow and Tuesday at right here and at the Uhuru Solidarity Center from 11 to 4 p.m. So you can come by and get your pies from those two locations. And people that have already placed orders can pick them up from those two locations as well. And then also, you still have a little bit of time before 6 p.m. to put an order in. So you can pick it up tomorrow on Tuesday. So I also, look at the next slide. Just want to say.
Next slide. Okay.
Yeah, next slide. So on Saturday, December 7th, the Office of the Deputy Chair with forces from InPDUM and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement protested the mayor at the O'Fallon Rec Center during her cabinet in the community. And the mayor was very disconnected with people. And the one thing that happened was that the Uhuru Baker team was able to talk to building commissioner Ed Ware about the permit process. And he said he would look into this personally and get back with us. Well, he did. We passed it on to his deputy, Dylan Mulder, and our team went by the building commissioner's office twice because they hadn't gotten back to us. One time Ware was at a 2-hour lunch. Then he headed us off to a temporary, he handed off to his deputy. The deputy did talk to us for about half an hour. On Friday morning, Moses said they had spoken with Alderman Aldridge. He said that he was willing to give a temporary construction permit pending
the deal because we had automatic support. Then later in the day, called to say that he was not going to do that because the neighborhood association is opposed. So basically, the city hides behind discretion, policy, and Terry Rhodes.
Yeah.
So we're continuing to take the fight in the city. So I just wanted to put that out. So the last slide there, we want to fight back. So the papers that I just handed out to everybody, we want to follow up with the people that we have knocked on doors to get petitions signed. So we want to be in the community again to do this. And I just want to say, it's like the struggle with the Uhuru 3, we want to build support, more and more support from the community for opening up a Uhuru Bakery Cafe.
Yeah.
And way too long. We purchased the building in January of this year. It's almost January now.
Yeah.
Coming up, you know. So we want everybody's support for getting this building open. You know, so when you call, tell them this is in regards to Uhuru Bakery Cafe, give them the permit.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we want to say to the people. Also, we're going to be mobilizing be at the City Hall for a rally on January 10th. So we want people to come there as well. We're not going to let up. It's like we didn't let up from July 29th of 2022 to now. We're not going to let up with this. And we need, like the chairman said, we need everybody to be here every Sunday. You continue to learn more and more about what's going on and what you can do so we can have our next victory. You know, so, and the victory's gonna be on the ground. You know, so let's make this happen and let's get the Bakery Cafe open. I can't fathom that city would not want healthy food, but they consider a food desert. This makes absolutely zero sense. So let it make sense in the opening of the Bakery Cafe so that the community can have a place to come to eat, to have community interactions, and again, to have healthy food, to be able to provide jobs, provide training, you know, and we just got to do it.
Right now, before we let you go, first of all, I just want to thank y'all for y'all support, being here, supporting us during our issues with Uhuru 3, but you see me victory with that. I want to thank y'all for some monetary expenses. If you look around, y'all get this bill. See, that's where our money goes towards the building, go up and down this corridor. You see where y'all money go. Because we do not accept no dollars from the state. Because when you do that, they dictate to you how to spend it.
Yeah.
And can't nobody dictate us how to run our liberation. So I want to continue on thanking y'all for y'all support. Period. But I will conclude it. Well, before I say that, to piggyback on what Conrad said, let's continue on Buddy's state about giving us our permits. That restaurant was open up as a restaurant until we bought them out and y'all prevented us from reopening. No, not in our community. I can't dictate to us what's going on in our community.
Right.
That's where y'all come in. Y'all come in by speaking y'all voices. Y'all come in by being seen. Come here next time. But just know that this is small scale project. Our largest scale project would be at Goodfellow in Natural Bridge for the folks who stay there. That's an old boathouse. You know what I'm talking about? So we want to do things here because our ultimate goal is to do something there. So we just thank y'all for your continued support in voices in monetary expenses. But to conclude the rest of the announcements, the Burning Spear newspaper, that's our newspaper that's been around for I keep forgetting years.
Over 50
years. I keep saying 53, but it's over 53 years. Our Burning Spear newspaper. Back paper for $1. But order today, the Burning Spear store, or subscribe at theburdenspirit.com/subscribe. And second, but not least, we need you to help build the Sunny Routes. We need you to help us grow bigger and better. Join a team of outreach, security, food, AV, and more. Bring your skills or get trained or training to help us be. But most importantly, bring yourself.
Uhuru.
Uhuru comments.
Uhuru.
Before you put your coat on, we gotta feed you, okay? We gotta feed you. Our goal today was 200. We met our goal at 200. Now, I will, say, this has really been a good rally because, you know, we get to coming to the end of this year. But next year looks amazing because we're going in it as women. So with that, I want to say, stick around, join us as we do caribou, which is feast, and we want everybody to eat because Conrad back there, Sophia and myself, we don't want to take none of this food home. Okay, we want you to eat it or take it home yourself. All right. Now, with that, I want to say, please stand. And repeat after me. No time.
No time.
No time.
No time.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.